Philippines, it's also good not to be so U.S.-centric.
Yes.
Right.
Well, for all of us, it's good not to be so U.S.-centric.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in Canada, we recognize that too. I mean, our geography has made it so that 76% of our exports go to the U.S. Our economy, our security is so integrated with the U.S. And that has served us well. And I think that has served Philippines well as well. But the point now is that we need to diversify partnerships. And that kind of over-reliance on one partner comes with risks. And we're seeing that really on display now. So Canada is doubling down on its desire to diversify partnerships. Economic partnerships, security partnerships, and we're making a huge play in Southeast Asia, and Philippines is kind of that anchor state within Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we're glad to be the first.
Yeah, and we're also going to have a free trade agreement, not just the Philippines, but an ASEAN-Canada FTA. What is that going to look like in the era of Trump 2.0?
Yes, so actually the good news is we're going to have the ASEAN FTA, which obviously will include Philippines, and just as of 2 weeks ago or few weeks ago, there's conversations also between Canada and Philippines on our bilateral FTA. And when our Prime Minister met with your President just last week, they committed to expedite that. So they gave a big task to their officials to try to finalize that FTA in 1 year, so that when Philippines hosts the next ASEAN summit here in Manila in a year's time, we can sign that. We'll see whether that happens. It's a huge ask, but at the very least, we'll have the ASEAN FTA, hopefully by then, which will then allow us to deepen our trade and economic relations. So the economies are quite complementary. What Canada has to offer by way of energy, food security, technology, investment, even educational services, growing middle class here in the Philippines, growing population here in the Philippines really wants all of those things. For the moment, our trade is relatively modest, about 3.8 billion a year. So there's so much room to grow. And having an FTA will make a difference. We've seen that with others. So for instance, Vietnam is a member of the CPTPP, the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Hard to say when you're jet-lagged. it's a mouthful.
That's a long acronym there.
It is a very, CPTPP. So because Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore are members of CPTPP, especially with Vietnam, we've seen our trade between Canada and Vietnam really go up quite a bit. So I think if we have an FTA with Philippines as well, either through ASEAN or bilaterally, it'll open up even more opportunity, which hopefully our businesses will take up. Like I said, energy is a huge area, including in small modular reactors, SMRs. And Canada is pioneering commercialization of SMRs, so that's a huge priority for our government. So I'm quite excited about that.
Are Canadian businesses keen to invest in the Philippines? I mean, we are, I'm sure you know, and you've seen it, and you've read about it. We are in the midst of a big, flood control scandal.
Yes,
and corruption.
yes, I have read about that, yes.
Are companies keen, Canadian companies, doing business here?
Yeah, so less than a year ago, we had sort of what's known as Team Canada Trade Mission. And it was one of the most subscribed such trade missions in Canadian history. So I think about 400 different Canadian companies and organizations came because there is an interest. And I think that's in part because we recognize the dynamism of Southeast Asia and Philippines in general, the growing population, young population, right? And again, complementarity of economies. It's also partly because we've had some Canadian companies here for 140 years, like Manulife, for instance, right? Which is, I think sometimes people here forget that that's a Canadian company, which is a testament to their success. They've really become local, became part of the business culture here. So I think that people-to-people connection, that legacy of some businesses being here for many years, the fact that there is a recognition that Philippines is growing and that our economies are complementary, certainly has made Canadian businesses interested. Now there are challenges on both sides, right? So like I don't want to paint a really overly optimistic picture. Challenges.
Like what?
Well, so you mentioned sort of ease of doing business, corruption, political instability. In Canadian case, what we need to address is the infrastructure to enable trade. So like I say, we have a lot to offer the world in terms of energy, in terms of food, all of these resources. But historically, we've sold it all to the US because all of the infrastructure is north-south, right? So we have these beautiful oceans on both sides and to the north on all three sides. And it's hard to get stuff out into the world. So we
Yeah.
need to build infrastructure. And that takes time and that takes investment. And also a lot of our businesses, maybe like yours, are SMEs. They're smaller. So for them, getting on a plane and coming to a place like Manila, which is 15, 16 hours away on a direct flight, may seem really far away, right? So to the extent that our SMEs are ready to do business, they go to the US. Now, all of that is changing.
Yes.
Because of President Trump, and I think people are more willing to look places where they hadn't looked before. So on balance, I'm very optimistic about what's possible.